No, right here.
Did you say 221?
Yeah, I meant this one. Bro. Hey, yo, I meant this one. Right? Yeah, he said it. I meant 231, but I put 221. I know it's. Y'all. What kind of cool background of mine.
I love that. Do you mind if we use this quite a background?
Yeah.
I didn't. Some photos.
Well, it's because he.
You get the nice.
Wait, is the counterpoint this way?
What?
So
Yeah.
is the counterpoint this way?
Yeah, what?
Wait, right? Yeah, it's like, because then we gotta speak this way to the camera.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Well, actually, I think it's fine if we just like tilt the table.
You're my favorite.
Or you could just put the stand on that
Speak to
side.
the camera or speak to the?
I would if you just.
You guys can speak.
Eye contact or anything.
You can also move the stand if
Like,
that.
maybe like, yeah, like.
Yeah, move the stand there.
Okay. That is supposed to have something to say.
Yeah.
Not in it, son. Yeah. Are you okay with mine? How from?
I can show you.
I'll do that. No, that's fine. Thank you. All right. Ready? Receive our percent. Perfect. Yeah. All right, what are we doing? Okay, great, thanks. Cool. That's it. Oh, whatever gets it. Is that recording? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on. That makes me feel basic. I got it. Everyone get it? Cool.
We affirm contention one is governance. African democracy declining needs governance models of 12 Africa remains in a dangerously authoritarian power democracy deteriorated Africa, declaring defining an African inspired framework for legitimate government. And Somaliland is key to strong democratic governments despite underdevelopment that bills at all. 21. Despite a tiny budget and hostile climate, Somaliland showing the way for countries to fall. Somaliland is country on GDP not covered with regular elections. Somaliland remains synonymous with poverty. The younger generation sees democracy diluting the cleanses of Somaliland's improving democratic norms into a regional democratic superpower. And recognition promotes democracy that's kind of 12.1. Opposite this recognition comes from authoritarian regime views Somaliland's democratic success as a precedent. AU recognition signals democracy value in Africa, an opportunity to build a democratic region, and otherwise democratic decline in Africa spelled global uncertainty for democracy is DA24. With population double, Africa holds global democracy future. Youth are committed to the movements chasing away authoritarian regimes, regaining value. Democracy will have to reform, and democracy caps access such risks as Camp 21. Voters are unlikely to tolerate catastrophic risks. Democracy will improve governance. Study of experts, diverse group of problem-solving agents commit fewer mistakes, fail states, where even imperfect democracy prevent famine, make war less likely. The public has little support for nukes, but strong support for climate and condition to instability. Somaliland strategy for recognition is agreements like the MOU that Jack was 16. Recognition strategy for Somaliland involves seeking paid funds, no means of defining candidates. Somaliland to relationship into recognition term agreements with commercial undertakings offer military bases and empirically fair Gobble 24 finds that Somaliland struck deals with foreign powers raising tensions, and Somaliland's new president will push for it. That's Shaman 1224. President gave special reports to pursue recognition for Somaliland new government's first job, and new deals or the MOU pushes over the brink. That's Web 24. Africa still waiting for the MOU. Security landscape and tinderbox small mistake could cause rapid escalation. The MOU lists on Somaliland, Ethiopia strengthening relations, and Turkish mediation will fail as SMV24. It is impossible to witness a tangible outcome of the Ankara Declaration. Ethiopia's leaders face strong opposition. Speculation indicate impossible between Somalia and Egypt. Ethiopia didn't step back. Gaps are unresolved. Notably, Ethiopia's naval ambition opts accused president of costing sovereignty, signing an illegal declaration. Ethiopia forced attacks Somalia forces violating the declaration. Peace requires diplomatic engagement and affirming self-calming force diplomacy to destroy. 21. The AU has a mandate and legitimacy to act authoritatively. The AU in 2005 75 fighting mission to Somaliland. Findings favorable to Somaliland. Somalia and Somaliland have met 10 times to discuss Somaliland status. System mediation overcome delays. Somaliland would be able to assist Somalia with security challenges. The AU has a mandate to mediate peace and deter sovereignty. Compelled Somaliland to negotiate independently. Amicable divorce is the most likely implementation. This chapter 16. Somalia pursued amicable divorce. Somalia required agreement on separation. Somalia and Somaliland held meetings in Patron, instrumental in transforming discussions into recognition. It's realistic evidence by the amicable divorce between Eritrea and South Sudan, and amicable divorce overcome AU opposition separation. Otherwise, the act cannot pass. Chapter 16. Somalia opposed recognition. The AU unwilling to make the first move, hesitant to recognize over the objections. Somalia's agreement would allow recognition without breaching the AU's stance on territorial destruction, and absent recognition. Somaliland's attempts to legitimize itself inflame the region's EU 24. Somaliland's a recurring cause of instability. Recognition could stabilize regional politics. Importantly, will not have exacerbated tensions. If Somaliland was recognized, Somaliland has to appear as a legitimate a state national identity revolves around sovereignty, striving for recognition while unrecognized, jeopardize peace. The important deal of is to securitize itself. Somalia making enemies. Somalia has to appear as a state, but must do without engagement. And conflicts inevitable and cause great power wars. Army 24. Africa and the cause of war catalyst is Abiy's intention for Ethiopia's MOU. Active sea MOU of violation of Somali sovereignty tensions have escalated the region's time of conflict around the Red Sea states, all which consider water central security. US, China, and Europe have military presence. Iran and Russia entered the regions to battle for global powers by disrupting maritime routes, war, endanger global trade, and countries piracy. Somali piracy is researching Walker 11-7 pirates, develops sophisticated capacity, Houthi attacks push routes south, creating opportunities to exploit vulnerabilities, merit security force stretched in, redeployed in the Red Sea. And in addition, Chola 12-6 finds that with the monsoon season ending, Somali piracy is expected to rise, threat expand dramatically, situation exacerbated and reduce security measures, and recognition enables Somalia to attain anti-piracy measures. That's roughly 24. Recognition would enable Somalia to develop security infrastructure, participate in international frameworks, and strengthen intelligence gathering capabilities. This territory could serve as a vital base for naval operations, secure trade routes, territories, specifically the Gulf aid, and makes it invaluable in anti-piracy. And indeed, Langford 11 finds that Somaliland is trying to fight with ragtag coast guard. It has 500 miles of coastline, but only 8 vessels. Otherwise, piracy shreds trade. Ruza 25 to 90% of commodities travel by sea. Gulf aid plays a prominent role. Somali piracy threat incapable with damage to the world economy, higher interest, extra fuel on rerouting costs, endangered trade at large, and decline cause great power war. This brand 21. Slow growth make leaders grab resources, making nationalism a crutch. Many follow the path with U.S. economic surge and Washington engaged in imperial expansion. Facing slowdown, Putin invaded 2 countries for France, undertaking military intervention. The fear of decline and power promoted for urgent expansion.
He's like, don't. Yeah. Yeah, I got it. And starts. Contention 1 is secession. Border the respective but affirming sparks separatism. Trivia 24. African states respect borders. Strong recognition sets precedents. Ethiopia, Somalia, and Sudan support secessionist movements to destabilize each other, perpetuate proxy conflicts, strong in other actors. Delegitimizes the AU. IDAN 24. AU's policy of maintaining borders is primary. Recognition legitimizes other movements. Dex Club. Velasquez 14. Difficult to decide on 1,000 strong UN national governments no longer cope with pandemics, warming terror, migrant states emerging less capable of sovereignty is an illusion, except if you are a superpower like the World War. It's this state. Oscar 23. Somaliland, the Caribbean, South Sudan share agreement from opposing parties. Somaliland doesn't go to nuclear panic in 20. Warner back 30 years in an arms treaties and prolific low barrier to war bonds sucking the whole region. And COP 20. Pandemic accelerating risk. International co-op ended wars. Escalated attract outside involvement. Treaties expiring. Talks bringing down chance of a new high proxy war. Extinction. Solomon 22. Daily points will be carried by winter progress of the globe. Nuclear would end agile life on Earth. Disadvantage to its backlash. Somalians de-escalated. Mohammed 24. Somaliland election underlies stability plans favor relationship with Mogadishu. Fighting customer star on the risk for recognition. Forces Somalia. Somalia for Somalians reaction to its perception of Somalians flipping white go to war to maintain sovereignty. Somalians. Fury stir contributed to destabilize Somaliland. Somaliland suffers devices incompetent admin and SC24. Somalia used every means for its existence. China intervenes to deny Taiwan relations. SC20. China delivered large military aid to Somalia and pellet retaliate against Somaliland, which established ties with Taiwan. Egypt will blockade Somaliland. Identity 24. Exit over Egypt prompting blockade concerns recognition. Egypt will strongly advocate for preservation of border fragmentation of Somalia, strip the critical ally control over trading through Suez. Somaliland create all paths via Berbera, awakening Egypt's influence, blockade, disrupting international markets, trade devastating stability, lacks all routes. They empower Somalia. Prevention 24. Egypt delivered military aid to Somalia after Ethiopia deal with Somaliland. Latch out ignites conflict. Day 24. Recognition increases war. Ethiopia perceives Egypt threats as a threat, increases tension, disrupts the entire region, porous borders, and affirmative sparks civil war. Bad 22. Opposition by many Somalilanders against recognition because that translates to aid to the government controlled by Isaac. Here's aid will allow Isaac to dominate other clans, increasing society, civil war. All it takes is a few people with ADs. Clan wars spill over. 14.3. Fighting between Somaliland clans threatens for other region. Global power for battle for one's resources. Somaliland its center of interest. Disadvantage 3 is Diplo. Africa is on the brink of conflict, thwarting regional alliances. Super 24. Looming war. Ethiopia signed memorandum with Somaliland. Somalia see this as a violation of territorial integrity, mental alignments with external powers create discord. Ethiopia is confident that they, similar 5. Countries agree to collaborate on the stabilization negotiations with the power mark breakthrough arrangements grant Ethiopia access to the whole or all 24. Turkey's approach to meticulously addressing issues will extend the de-escalation period until mid-2025, which is key to regional. Mohammed 24. The framework enhanced counter terror collaboration and sharing highlight value of AU serve as a blueprint for resolving conflicts in negotiation. Contention on non-recognition. Police 24. Compromise sovereignty of Somalia. Precondition Somaliland recognition voided. And diplomacy is something. Lots 24. AU very progressive and guidance constitutionalist and increasingly a future civil society growing young people taking on challenge. Affirming deck. Well 24. Independent Somaliland rewards contending Somalia because it's a direct challenge and posed diplomatic cost. Expense did cap item 24. Massive post recognition state building process is necessary. This is states require a hardline against acknowledgement of new entities causing friction, complicating diplomat, more lobbying at the AU to propagate the Somaliland cause. And clash to the AU, AL 24. Ethiopia and Somalia has set a precedent for others encouraging co-op actions, exacerbate tensions, powers pressure to allow with one side creating divisions. Debates delay the act and drain the AU Malua 04. Amendment effective 30 days after ratification, as some ratify, others don't. Different legal regimes arise. Outcome of debate is not speedy. Regionalism is an impact to the Center 15. Terror, autocrats, conflict, CC, econ, cyber beasts, interconnected issues can't be dealt with by any one state. Responding will require overcome difficulties. AU shaping global trends work together to innovate solutions. Otherwise, the bioterror is coming. Field 23. The virus of bioterror going down. Online markets offer lab equipment drone usage to experience extinction. 121. Engineer pathogens spreading to worker evade countermeasures and gear to focus on the planet. And that's the amount of reduced skill point needed. After integration requires co-op. Field 23. States must contend with implementation, coordination, important ideological battle for after one countries, investing for local capital. After will transform trade, solves war during 2020 creates goodwill and economic incentive to avoid war protectionism, promotes hostility. Cut the last card on Osama. On their case on instability, African countries won't accept deals helping forward hidden to recognize from geopolitical complexities, power dynamics, the fear of encouraging selection and movements. African nations amend the notion of recognizing threat as confidence. Second, no link Somalia won't negotiate in periods privilege 024. Somalia said there's no room for mediation unless Ababa canceled a deal with Somaliland coming after the AU called on countries to engage in dialogue towards peace. Somalia says its sovereignty and territorial integrity was violated. All 72. Okay.
Let me just get the two part.
Okay. One standard set.
No, we can stand. Anyway. Let's talk about diplomacy.
Sure.
How many intern wings do you have on diplomacy?
Okay. No, maybe okay. First, it nullifies the MOU, which has both cooperation. Second, Somalia views the move as a challenge and imposes diplomatic costs. Third, current negotiations against the act create a model for collab. Fourth, it expands DIPCAT since the AU has to focus on state building. Fifth, its actions exacerbate tensions and powers are pressure to align with one side, creating divisions. Sixth, debates about implementation delay the act and drain the AU, taking time that could be spent on.
Like, okay, those are the big scenarios. Like, what interns? Like military station.
Like trade integration, like diplomacy solves conflicts, and like regionalism solves terror, climate change, CC. Very cool. Okay. On your, can you explain everything on the instability argument?
Yeah, the argument is that A, the short evidence indicates that the AU is able to facilitate mediation between Somalia and Somaliland. B, the actual evidence says that through amicable divorce, this is actually a part of the same link. The AU is able to act as a third party mediator and mediate the terms of cession between Somalia and Somalia.
Okay. Piracy. Yeah, can you explain the internal link, like the links on piracy?
There's like one.
It's just like co-op.
Yeah, the argument is that
Okay.
Somalia. The argument.
Yeah, question.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about diplomacy. Actually, here let's talk about regionalism. Why is the AU key to solving the existential threats that you talked about, like cyber, for example?
Our evidence doesn't just isolate the AU, it also isolates the framework created by that. Like a card deal, it says that we can collaborate because obviously you can't solve for terror, climate change, etc. by yourself, because terror is something that happens like internationally, right?
Wait, so how do African
countries
countries
can get stronger?
Yeah, sure. How do African countries collectively solve like cyber attacks?
What do you mean?
Like your impact filter card is talking about how regionalism solves for things such as pandemics, like cyber attacks, etc. I'm asking what mechanism does the AU?
Stuff like info share.
So the AU has info share.
Oh yeah, I guess that's one example.
Okay, cool.
Okay. On governance, can you name how long does it take for a country to become democratic?
I don't think it really matters. Our argument is that Somaliland is able to act as a model for other
Okay.
countries.
What other countries would follow Somalia?
Djibouti, South Sudan, Kenya, Ethiopia,
Is Kenya a democracy or not?
Australia.
Is it democracy? Okay, do you need a
Well,
question?
no, the argument is that Somaliland is a beacon of democracy. Other countries
Why
in the
can't they
region,
model regardless of
again,
recognition?
Kenya is not as strong as
Okay,
democracy.
why
as
is
Somalia.
recognition key for them to evolve?
Because without recognition, without state legitimacy, then other countries are going to see, oh, okay, it's a part of Somalia. It's like its identity is
Well,
tied
everyone
to that
knows
Somalia.
Somaliland is independent. It's been
Well, okay,
independent for
not
30
everybody
years.
knows it. That's why it's not recognized.
It's been independent for 30 years.
Well, not.
I think countries around it though.
That was 30. The order will be, I guess like the responses they made on our days come down with this. And then we go. Yes. I'm not even sure what the responses on our sheets were supposed to respond to within the signposts on the extension, but I'll answer them regardless. They say that African countries won't accept deals. Our argument isn't about deals, it's about democratic countries, and they haven't implicated this specifically in the context of our argument. Our arguments that specifically the populace within the democratic nations are likely to demand that they have to become more democratic, which increases likelihood of deals because they're more likely to be popular. They say the Somali won't negotiate. Their evidence is about rhetoric, but our argument is about action. Our argument is that Somalia has to actionably negotiate because it is what is most favorable among their people, and it is what's most safe in the context of preserving their existence. Also, their evidence was a year ago, which is far too old, or having post dates. On their case about secession. 190 historical trends prove that secession is double. Their evidence about it is being distinct as bad. That's March 21. Separatism is global trend. The number of the nations tripled since 1945. In the long run, there'll be another that just will have no countries permanently will break apart. 2. Linked term recognition views secession sets a high bar. The survey 21. Common objection is secession got Eritrean, South Sudan, Sudanese independence, and not Somaliland is unique because they operate autonomously for 30 years. That because state was once independent. Recognition will legitimize outer secession, doing establish civil state over sovereignty. 3. No impact movements or escalation periods of Miss King period 17. 100 secession movements built the anti Myanmar after despite number of are successful even with popular movements. Movements rarely have a political or military capacity to see. 4. Recognition of Somaliland aligns with the AU Charter and answer the amendments are needed to pass the act because there was no change to President Jovic. 14. Somalia has already existed international recognized sovereignty. Even for 4 days, Somalia's request for recognition for union borders hardly presents president. It is unclear for what Somalia has approached to discuss the discussion. Somalia has problems pacifying its capital and non-intervention roads. U.S. AU authority and prevents effective conflict prevention. That's Gilo and Handy 22. AU's uneven peace record raised question about Bombadi's authority coherence of AU to AU draw individuals members of governments often go back to AU and enforce authority on conflict prevention, trying to be reversed fragilities were addressed. One system fragility most have to take opposed their internal affairs. On their argument of Civil War 1, claim fighting now this 1 see Horton 23 claim fighting between claim militias and school rent security and stability fighting and last not has not been brought to a quick conflict. The conflict will intensify and continue to spread to the Yemen conflict, Sudanese civil war, should dump the civil war impact Greece after African civil wars don't escalate, prefer conflicts about proxy conflict between the US and Russia, not specific to Africa. That's Strauss 12. Civil wars are fought on the peripheries of state. Insurgents tend to be weak and factionalized, group are internally divided, poor structural, and trained without access to heavy weapons. On Somalia, under Somalia backlash argument, 1 low morale, lack of funding, and obsolete technique.
between the Somali's armies and in fact prefer no cookies military renders foreign arms held unless useless. Even if SC is true, that's Williams 24. The SNA low tech consisting of few armed because of arms embargo. There's functionally no Somali airports. The SNA suffered from desertion and infiltration by ultra mob. Low morale stemmed from high corruption. The AU will compel Somalia to negotiate. This also answers the Zip Cap aid collapse on C3 because negotiations resolve divisions and disputes. That's Schwartz 21. If Somalia and Chad achieve independence will assist Somalia with regional issues, the African Union has mandated immediate information sovereignty will compel Somalia to negotiate and recognition damage national sentiment in Somalia for solve fragmentation and stability for policy analyst over Africa over Hassan, who's guest journalist that's Masurbi 21. Somalia nationalism seeks to reunite independent Somalia. Land might undermine resistance on making realization even more unlikely. On Egypt, Egypt doesn't escalate geography, a lack of military strength, and international backlash prefer aid. Denial is Egypt's economic lifeline, and Adami only analyzes technical capabilities. Curve 24. Ethiopia can reduce Nile water flow to exert pressure on Egypt. The country's overhead blocks against insurgent groups and military movement generates financial support. On diplomacy, tensions are rising in the Horn of Africa now. The conflict is now prefer post-Haitian law. That's El Nahui 114. Tensions and rising in the Horn of Africa. Tensions between Egypt and Ethiopia fueled by the Nile. Ethiopia's growing influence capital flip the regional balance of power. I'll mark that card. Power and targets mediation fail. It prefer it post-states Amal and the Sheen law evidence which cites trends from early December, not 2025. That's 1221. Growing angry in Somalia over Ankara agreement of public agreement seeks Ankara have betrayal of sovereignty. Parliament dropped a motion to remove the president. On their argument of DIPCAP and AU approved them. The AU is toothless due to distrust among member states and placing leadership. Preferred years of analysis of the AU body over MongoDB's vague cherry-picked examples of individual states. Fake about 2024. Over the last 3 years, 93% of AU decisions not been implemented. Parliament is exercising binding powers, and the AU cannot compel member states to comply with AU rules. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. 10 seconds. Okay. I'll send. There's no word. I don't know if I can get through all this, so I'll send a mark after. Also, just a quick. Also, the order in their case, their C1 is going to be responded to last.
So it's C2, C3, C1.
Yeah.
That makes.
I know. Yeah. Use some word. Yeah, I'm doing that. Okay, thanks. All right, we're Dr. Sen. And again, it's going to start on front loading down arguments. I don't really. Sorry. Okay.
Let me download it.
Time starts
On C1, on secession level, uniqueness is conceded that movements are dormant now, and there's no brink on when these movements escalate. On races to the bar, uniqueness controls the direction of the link. There's no risk of secession in the status quo. Even if the app racing the bar doesn't solve anything, then there's no impact. And the bar is lowered. Right now, the bar is at the 80 will literally never recognize secession. On no escalation, evidence is not specific to Africa. Our evidence finds that Africa at least have the capabilities to see they just need incentive. On C2, on Civil War, they say fighting now. It's a year later. Our evidence comes a year later after this. This is from 2023. On no escalation. For our evidence, it says that while these civil wars might not directly escalate to great power wars, spills over regionally, which then invite in great powers, which they concede. On Somalia, they say no tax, but our evidence also posts their evidence is specific to a UN arms embargo, which literally got lifted, which was why it's outdated. On AU, they will this cross about their case, respond to it on their case. On dormant, like on it decreases the nationalism. There's always going to be national sentiment, and they specifically conceded that Somalia will always see the sentiment, which is why they feel this need to invade. And even if it's not about national sentiment, it's fundamentally an existential territorial threat, which is why they'll still invade. Anyways, on Egypt, they say they're just going to cut them out, but there's no incentive, and we see that the existential threat from Somaliland getting the port outweighs. On C3, they say tensions are up now, but tensions does not equal war. Their evidence doesn't even say that war is happening. They say that Turkey will fail, but no, our evidence is better for our mall because their evidence identifies issues specifically, but our evidence spikes it down, saying that Turkey is already addressing these issues directly by doing mediation between these two countries, and it's the only part of the round that gives time frame as to when this deal will hold on for. If you read their card specifically, it just says that there's some opposition in Somalia, not a specific war as to why this deal will break or give you the end game. On the truth, this response, one, our evidence post two, it's about the decisions that go against members of the EU, but trade integration and intel sharing are things that they want to do. Go to their case. On instability, on conflict level, on deal stopping now. Their evidence was running before the deal was brokered. On the link level, on backlining, they say their argument isn't about deal. The instability argument literally is. They say Somalia has to negotiate. Break the clashes. Our evidence is based on empirics, specifically like the MOU. But then third, AU involvement undermines cooperation. AU 24, AU actions to support peace are complicated depending on how interests align with Ethiopia. If Somalia actors are perceived as biased or detrimentally interested, erode trust and jeopardize peace. Four, non-unique president is less destabilizing than in recognition efforts. Problem 24, the opposition will take a more cautious approach. I will remark change that the former does not look at recognition was a less aggressive engagement and traditional channels. Somaliland will be destabilized, more destabilizing upon affirming because they no longer need to remain favorable to AU members, meaning that they are more likely to respond to disagreements with aggression and continue destabilizing acts now. Six, there's still incentive to pursue deals with the US. AU recognition is not sufficient for total legitimacy. Seven, they still have the incentive to make deals with other things about like trade. Eight, no violence for when escalation happens. Somaliland has been pursuing deals for 30 years that hasn't triggered. Nine, the amicable divorce link is an abusive via A. Even if negotiations happen when you burn, that doesn't change the Somalia sentiment to recognition, which means that Somalia still gets mad and resists any further diplomacy. And B, Somalia doesn't need to agree for the AU constitution, only needs a majority vote. And even then, I see that Somalia, the AU fundamentally has no power. Insofar as they can only issue statements, not actually force countries to doing anything. So there's no strong arming happening on piracy. On the unique, this one piracy can refer research URN 24 return is impossible. Measures curve the problem. China patrols commercial ships adhere to self-protection protocol. Should there be an increase in international force and shipping industry could quickly counteract by intensifying patrols. Specifically means that if they're linked to the impact on trade, one second piracy is decreasing in 24 piracy spreads to the lowest level in 30 years in 2024. And on the link level, the conceptual possibility of recognition motivates Somalia to counter piracy to 11. Exception is central in the counter piracy of Somalia and effort to independence. Counter piracy influence split of recognition. Piracy portrayed as essential difference in Somalia and cooperation now to 11. Since 2008, Somalia has been a stakeholder in UN counter piracy operations and capacity building resources. Coast Guard example 6 with leaking and recognition agency recruitment. 24. The decision to recognize Somaliland enables Al-Shabaab to recruit coordination between Al-Shabaab and Houthi Gulf, the bomb and downstream on governance. On the top shelf, one, non-recognition has kept democracy in check. 11, Somaliland depend on local tax revenues, keep attempts to exceed constitutional limits in check, informal presidents on presidential power, and affirming increases aid which protects democracy. 11, Somaliland will have received assistance, double government revenue, aid improved ability to overwhelm opposition groups, reducing the degree of representative government, and secondly, after North, the root cause bad product rule modeling fails, absent incentives to democratize, rate 22 local governments lack effective governing institutions, challenges the state building cause, many can turn to authoritarian rule. Repeat that even if there's a model to model off, it doesn't mean that these countries necessarily want to. And even if the links off authoritarian leaders just twist democracy back to the control, rate 22 democratically elected leaders establish family dynasties to direct rule by the military, use the democratic process to subvert representative government, proving the fact that Somaliland is literally dominated by single clan elites on the link level. There's no reason why recognition is key. Secondly, modeling link fails. A, Somalia has no international prestige. The one of the evidence argues that they have the best practices, but not any other country is going to follow them. And also, there are tons of all confidence. Somalia is still a poor thing, which is why other countries don't want to model them anyways. And we say that like there's no link to other countries or the access to risk because their evidence is only specific to Africa, where countries like the US will always serve as a model. Everything was gross. Or like more or less. Like the analytics at the bottom are paraphrased, but like okay. We're gonna say that was 40 seconds. Are you good for crossfire? Yeah.
Can you give me an example of a civil war in Africa that has drawn in great power to existential levels?
We would say that the civil war to scale, especially the president, right?
Like, okay, one, why not? And two, what
Because
is
we
the
haven't
scale?
seen because literally in Africa, we haven't seen the recognition of a country that has not been already like the previous recognition in Africa, like South Sudan or like these other countries. There was already an agreement
Okay,
made in
so
place to
let's
stop the
clarify
escalation
something.
of the
Your
war.
evidence only talks about two examples of civil wars, Eritrea and South Sudan.
Sure.
What about other civil wars like Biafra, for example, or Angola?
Okay. Firstly, our evidence is hyper-specific to Somaliland because of its location near the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea, and also its rich resource location, which is why a lot of great powers care about the
Biafra
Horn of
was-
Africa specifically.
Okay, like Biafra was in Nigeria, for example, which is like arguably one of the most like rich areas, resourceful. Why did
I
that-
would argue that the idea that this hasn't happened before does not mean that it won't happen.
I'm just asking you why hasn't it?
All right, like just the idea that it hasn't happened before doesn't mean it won't happen in the future. Proven by the fact that we saw piracy in 2011, yet your impacts of trade causing
I'm just asking you why.
Here, I'll ask you a question. We saw recessions before. Why didn't we see this extinction from your great power war?
Because economic interdependence is increasing, especially among great powers post-COVID.
So like before COVID, why didn't we see any of it? Oh, so only post-COVID impact matter?
I mean, in the context of the economy, post-COVID economic.
Okay, how much does trade have to go down?
Like,
for
you're
your
still
piracy
answering my
impact?
question with a question. I'm just asking you, like, why haven't we seen civil wars escalate?
But I'm arguing that the situation in Somaliland is unique and we get more. It's been a minute already. Just answer my
Yeah.
question now.
Wait,
Let's
what's
go
your
to
question?
okay. Let's go to piracy. How much does trade have to decrease for this war to break out?
There's like not a specific number. Our argument is that a decrease in trade generally increases supply.
Like how much though?
Like again, there's like not a specific number.
Okay, as of 2024, trade has decreased 60% year over year due to things like Houthi powers attack, which have been already
Trade
occurring,
between
like just global trade in general.
global trade has not decreased by 60% in 2020.
It has. We can read that. We can show you evidence on the app.
Did you read evidence?
Like just this is crossfire. Answer the question.
That is not true. That is my answer. Like global trade has not
Okay,
decreased.
trade specifically going to Africa has been impacted by decreasing by 60%, which is what your impact is specific to. It's gone down 60%. So how much more will it have to go down before your impact?
I do not think that global trade has gone down by 60%.
Not global trade. Global trade being shipped through Africa. So the trade that
I-
your cars talk about
Again,
that matter.
again,
So your argument.
I just don't think that's true. Like, and you haven't read
Okay,
that.
even if you don't think that's true, just answer the argument. How much more will it have to go down before your impact to trigger?
Well, it depends on what's happening now, and I'm telling you.
So there's no bright line. Like it just may happen. It may not happen.
I mean, you're right. Our argument doesn't have a bright line. I can't like look into the minds of like the intelligence services countries and analyze and
sure, that's
calculate
fine.
when they go to
You have a
war.
question? Just like
Yeah. We have 155. We have 20 seconds left.
The order of my speech is going to be the ask, way, and then okay. Simple order. I'm good. On contention one of governance, we will concede that we do not solve for all democracy, which means there's no impact to the turn on instability first. We will concede that there's no balance to escalation, and there's no offense on this argument about backlash. It's just their argument there. On piracy, this is the argument that we're going for. Extended piracy resurges to the Red Sea, raising cargo interest and shipping costs, disrupting supply chains, and slowing the global economy. Recognition enables Somalia to enter intelligence sharing and gain security infrastructure to conduct anti-piracy, independently encouraging others in the region to follow suit, such as Djibouti and Puntland. Health, prolonged global prompts great powers to go to diversionary wars, distract attention from internal turmoil. Sabotage escalation goes nuclear, causing extinction due to nuclear famine. On the responses, group the first response, they're essentially the same thing. They've conceded our uniqueness from literally December, which postdates all their evidence and looks at long-term trends of the past year, indicates that because current efforts are not enough, piracy is still resurging and it's disrupting trade. They say exceptionalism. I'll answer this turn first. There's no warrant as to why the incentives to pursue anti-piracy necessarily change post-affirmative. They've conceded that even though Somalia has the intent to engage in anti-piracy, they do not have the capability because they have a ragtag coast guard and they lack the capacity to enter into intelligence sharing, which is what the affirmative would do. Which responds to the two turns. The final response that they go for is that affirming increased recruitment. Even if it marginally increased recruitment, they've dropped that intelligence sharing schemes will be able to solve for this recruitment and suppress the existing terrorists that happen post-affirmative, which solve for this argument. The way to make one, try or die. They've conceded that escalation is imminent now because the economy is inevitably going to collapse. That means extinction is 100% probable in any status quo. Your frame your bad. If you know that extinction is imminent, you should do anything to stop it, which means you vote out on the risk of sovereignty. Secondly, we would argue that we turn their case when you see economic decline, especially in the Gulf of Aden, which is such a prevalent region and important region to the AU. It destroys the legitimacy and destroys their ability to mediate conflict because countries no longer trust the AU's ability to mediate tensions and solve for things as piracy. Secondly, we also outweigh on severity. Our argument is talking about great power decline, which every single great power goes to diversionary wars, while their argument is about small proxy conflicts such as Djibouti, for example, or small civil conflicts, which you know that our arguments are far more likely to escalate and far more likely to go nuclear. Their case. The biggest thing that I would go for is the Jalot and Handy evidence that is straight drop that indicates that the AU is lacking authority now because there's lack of cohesion and because non-interference inherently prevents them from establishing member cohesion, which is why they're not able to solve any conflict. This is drop analysis out of rebuttal, and they've conceded that recognizing Somalia and violating the anti-interference principle and remodeling their constitution back inherently allows them to intervene into more conflicts, gain member cohesion, and increase their legitimacy. This prereqs all of their case. All of their cases rely on the AU being able to mediate conflict or the AU able to conduct solvency. But if the AU is not legitimate now, they obviously can't do that. But the affirmative is the only chance to solve. It's also try or die because they've conceded the AU legitimacy is decreasing now. I will line by line their wars now. First on C2, they just conceded the Strauss evidence indicates that civil wars are weak. They're weak, factionalized, and cannot spill over because they lack the funding to do so, which they cannot spill over in the first place. On C3, the first argument that I'll go for is the fact that Somalia cannot backlash. They've dropped the Williams evidence indicates they have no cohesive military. They lack the surgeon, and Al-Shabaab has already infiltrated the Somali military, which means that even if they have the capability to do so, because they lack cohesion, they can actually start a full-blown military conflict. This AU argument should apply to every single contention. If you do not have AU legitimacy, you cannot mediate a conflict. It is try or die for your extinction is inevitable.
Just 10 seconds. Time starts now.
Our case, their case. Pretty simple. Alright, starts. Now we're going for invasion. Somaliland's de-escalated a new president, but Abdex one recognition forces Somalia to invade to prevent Somaliland's independence as they view it as an exit zone threat. Second, China pushes Somalia to invade to prevent Somaliland supporting Taiwan. Dropped other powers to go nuclear with ended arms treaties and proxy wars with no communication, exchanging through radiation poisoning, destroying food. First, they say there's obsolete tactics. Conceded China and Asia will support Somalia in the case of invasion. So even if Somalia's own tech is obsolete, it doesn't matter. Also, it solves for their morale and cohesion argument, since if the troops get a ton of new tech, they're obviously incentivized to work together to go to war and improve morale. Plus, their evidence is not talking about cohesion; it just has morale, which is solved backward by them getting a bunch of cool new tech, and their evidence relies on the UN arms embargo, but that was lifted, which is why our more recent evidence is better. This is a conceived way you can break the clash of this argument, and they think that Al-Shabaab has infiltrated the rank. Even if Al-Shabaab has infiltrated the rank, if they have more strong weapons, they can kill Al-Shabaab. They say that A will compel negotiations to quantify the conceded Al-Shabaab zero evidence, which postdates by 3 years, and says Somalia won't negotiate. So even if they are strong armed by the AU, they won't actually do anything, which takes out this argument, and you can break the clash of imperial succeeded. The MOU argument was an imperial example of AU negotiations failing. This keeps the turn, and they say that all our argument relies on AU diplomacy working. No, our evidence is about the Ankara Declaration, which has nothing to do with the AU. On Wang, first time frame is instant. The plan's perception instantly forces Somalia to invade. On the other hand, it takes years for piracy to research and for the recession to cause great power war. Second sequence first, you only that once exceeded short circuit scenarios and frames that predict triad is irrelevant since if everybody is dead, there is no risk of sovereignty and invasion forces Somaliland and Somalia to turn inward and deal with insecurity, which prevents sovereignty for piracy since they're in the middle of the war. They can't solve for piracy and invasion weakens contribution, boldens pirates and magnifies instability, allowing war. Fifth, tensions prevent co-op, which means they can't work together to stop war. If there are a bunch of tensions, they're not going to go to war. On Okay, on their way, on Triad, first Triad relies on uniqueness, which is inherently probabilistic, which means the extinction is not 100%. Second Triad assumes no other risk of sovereignty, but intervening actors can always solve back for extinction as long as we delay by preventing more possible extinction and time frame shortening their argument. Consider that if we are all extinct, that there's no risk of sovereignty, and it's Triad. If we both win extinction, in fact, delaying extinction as long as possible is best, since we can maximize life years and pleasure. They say economic clock prevents negotiation. This argument is just not true. Countries are more incentivized to negotiate when they're in the economic clock because they need a way to solve for the economic collapse. They say that it's about their impact is about great power, what is more probable. Sure, even if the impact is good, you know the link evidence about piracy is terrible because piracy has happened a ton and it's never actually linked to their scenario. And recessions have happened a ton, but it's never caused nuclear war. On their case, the current is mishandled. They say they lack the capabilities now, but they can see post-app even when the capabilities stay loose content. It doesn't matter if we don't have the capabilities to solve piracy, if the pirates don't exist in the first place. The perceptual possibility of recognition motivates Somaliland to counter pirates. Part of the dual 11 evidence because piracy isn't in Somaliland, and Somaliland won't help the enemies like Somalia and Egypt, which piracy will independently increase in prereqs. There's no incentive post-app, which comes before capability, since there's no incentive. It doesn't matter how much strong they are. Second, they're going to say training Somaliland cares, but by the time that happens, it's way too late to solve. Even then, they would say piracy counters that the are and evidence which is China's controlling it, commercial ships here to self-protection specifically means even if they're linked triggers, the impact on trade won't happen since countries have diversified supply chain, which means recession will never happen. And even if piracy up, they have not red card saying the trade is collapsing. Look, even if we don't win invasion, sanctions alone prevent cooperation, which prevent piracy.
Okay. Are you good for project? Very good for project. Yeah. Okay. Why does China want to fund those Somalian? Or I guess why haven't they already done so?
Yeah.
What? Because they have, but Somalia hasn't
So
invaded.
if they have, why is your argument?
Because Somalia hasn't invaded. We
Why?
say that China capabilities help Somalia.
So
when
why
they
would
invade.
China give arms to Somalia if Somalia is not going?
No, we say that they're going to give arms when they invade.
You
China
just
has
said they already-
no,
yeah, you
China
just said
has
they
already committed to giving arms. They've not sent the massive amount of aid that Somalia needs to go to war.
You
How-
rewind your evidence.
Yeah, like your evidence has an empiric that says that China sent some aid, but it doesn't say that China is willing to commit to fueling their conflict. Those are two entirely different things.
all
Yeah, please do.
why I'm holding up? First of all, even if we lose, that China supports it, we independently can see that Egypt supports it. Because like they have every incentive to undermine Somaliland in their competition with Ethiopia, which is not responding to at all. And I'll read it.
Just because a country has an
China
incentive,
delivered large military aid to Somalia, impelling to retaliate against Somalia, which established ties with Taiwan. This was after the MOU, when it said that Somalia was preparing for invasion. Luckily, diplomacy was able to solve. Okay. On your case, we've seen piracy attacks before. Why hasn't it caused a massive global shock to the supply chains of the world?
Yeah, so first, you've seen economic decline before, but grants evidence.
I'm talking about piracy specifically.
Yeah. So I'm getting there. The grants evidence makes the uniqueness claim that indicates that after COVID, global interconnectivity increased.
I'm not
Supply chain disruptions are uniquely.
I'm not asking about trade disruption.
Our evidence indicates.
That's not what I'm asking about. What I'm asking about is why hasn't piracy caused this global trade disruption? Piracy in Somaliland, these attacks before. Why hasn't it caused this global trade disruption?
Yeah, the uniqueness was conceded and says that piracy has been increasing at a rate we've never seen
Sure,
before.
because piracy is resurging, but it's resurging, which means it's already surged.
okay, that's fine. What was the last piece of
Which piece of work?
the last one?
It's like we can't. If countries are in war or if tensions are high, they're not going to co-op. It's like Somalia is hell mad at Somaliland,
Oh,
and if they're in a war.
Okay, to answer your question, even if piracy has been resurging for a while now, the grant evidence again makes the uniqueness claim that we're uniquely vulnerable to economic shock.
But you're talking about why economic shocks are uniquely cause great power war. I'm asking why the global economic shock even happens in the first place.
Yeah, so we're seeing trade reverberations happening globally now. It's just our argument is that, well, obviously, like, I'm not a prophet, nobody in
A
this
small
room can tell
piracy
you.
attack on like the
Okay,
coast
first of all, it's
Somalia.
not small, it's not small, it's like the entire Horn of Africa. Second of all, like, I can't tell you
That's
when
not
when, I can't tell you when the recession will happen, I'm not a prophet. But you conceded the uniqueness that A indicates that Somali piracy is resurging at a rate we've never seen before. It's the most recent uniqueness.
Just because piracy is resurging doesn't mean that piracy is suddenly going to cause a global shock that leads to great power.
Okay, we have 20 seconds, right? Okay. The order will be our case and then theirs. I know this round got really complicated after rebuttals, but this round is actually quite simple. We will agree with their analysis and their contention about the turn, but they have conceded the uniqueness, so the turn can matter. Also, we'll agree that it doesn't outweigh. The most important office in this debate is about the turn on the AU. This was conceded since rebuttal. They said that they would address it on our case. They did not. And they also did not address it in summary. They only tried to outweigh. Our argument is super simple. AU interference is bad. It increases non-intervention is bad because it means that countries are. It looks like the AU is in place and not willing to intervene and prevent conflicts. They have dropped the link turn proper. That when the AU does not have credibility and countries do not trust the AU, they leave the AU, and as a result of that, AU is likely to collapse. The AU is critical. Both sides agree that the AU leads to mediation and prevents thin conflicts between countries, and independently, both sides agree that conflicts within Africa escalate because the great powers are drawn in. This is the most important link, an internal link into this debate, into conflict. This debate is fundamentally about what is the most likely conflict. Both sides have conflict scenarios, but our argument is most likely because it's about a governing body that has existed for the past 3 decades for 54 countries, but their argument is about 2 impoverished countries that barely have the means to fight against each other. This is fundamentally a question of scope and magnitude. Independently, they have also dropped our argument that it turns their case. When the African Union collapses, it means that countries cannot cooperate anymore. So it also encompasses their scenario, but also more. Think about every other secession in Africa. Think about every other civil war in Africa that is unlikely to be moderated when the AU collapses. It's likely to escalate. All of that analysis was dropped. The only analysis they have at the end of the debate is the idea about weighing and stuff about try or die. This is not stuff about time frame. This does not matter. They have not read a reason why their time frame is faster. Perceptual is a buzzword, and wars simply do not start overnight. Our argument Somalia still has to get the arms. Sending armaments, preparing your military, strategizing, etc., still takes a lot of time, and time frame is a wash because nobody can predict the precise actions, precise bright lines of actors. With that in mind, if you don't believe anything I've said in the past 1 minute and 45 seconds, that doesn't matter because they have mishandled the defense on their case. But Somalia simply is too weak to fight, which is why they've never fought in the past, despite independence for the past 3 decades. They say that China and Egypt can do it in the past, but they have dropped that they've already done so, but they're still weak. Their own analysis and cross was that they've already done so. Super simple alcohol.
Gonna be starting on the turn and then going to our case. Not really much going to do. Alright. Everyone ready? Time starts. While the scope weighing is great, the only extension made on our side was invasion, which they had not implicated the turn against. At that point, you can acknowledge that the app improves the AU, but there is no terminal extension of what that means. No one has read uniquely saying a conflict is inevitable and that we need the AU to solve. So the only offense that can be fundamentally garnered coming out of this final focus is going to be invasion. But even then, they did not read any impact scenarios for the AU to solve, so the turn has no impact. Even then, they have conceded front lines. Remember, the AU does not matter since the only way to implicate it against the Somalia war was taken out by a cross-step of a response and rebuttal, which they have conceded. The Al Jazeera evidence, which postdates by 3 years, says that countries like Somalia won't negotiate and won't be strong-armed by the AU. So if the AU is weak, affirming does not magically solve, which is why 93% of AU policies are never passed. Break the clash on empirics. It's conceded that the MOU is an empirical example of the AU failing. And even if the AU is ineffective, it does not matter. They have conceded there are other mediation forms proven by the Ankara Declaration. The final word is persuasive, but they conceded way too much on the turn, and fundamentally, there's no impact coming off of it. At that point, go to invasion. Somalia has de-escalated, but amid the new president affects it. Recognition forces Somalia to invade and to stop Somalia's independence since they view it as an existential threat that draws in other powers and goes nuclear with ended arms treaties and proxy wars and no communication, extinction to radiation poisoning, destroying food. They just say no capabilities, but they have conceded that our evidence post-dates theirs, which is important. Since the words in their card as to why Somalia does not have capabilities is because of a UN arms embargo, which got lifted, which is why the recency of evidence does matter. Also, it's also conceded that China and Egypt will support Somalia in the case of an invasion. So even if Somalia owns tech, it's obsolete and it doesn't matter because they get it in the future. Yes, Somalia didn't invade in the past, but that's not because of a lack of capabilities, but because there was no incentive for an invasion in the first place, which is another conceded analysis, which is at that point, just because they didn't invade in the past was not because of capabilities, it's because of incentive. At that point, you know the only offense that can even come out of this round is on Somalia invasion. So even if we're not winning a perfect link, you can just vote on us a risk of offense because you know the turn has no impact.